It's time for Reason.
We go through 12 years of school, we go through a higher education system, and we have to teach basic English. We have to teach basic math. This is a 4-year college. Remember, you used to go to university to be able to go and major in something and just go and take the classes that you want to take because that's what you're going to school for. No. Now you got to go to the university. You got to do the 4-year thing, and the first 2 years of it are just taking basic classes, the same crap that you took during high school.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Is it really 2018?
No.
Is it really, truly, honestly, a brand new year, a brand new opportunity, a brand new way for us to get excited about a brand new week? Welcome into the Voice of Reason. It is a Tuesday, and hopefully you got to enjoy. I know a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't get into the holiday for New Year as much as they do for Christmas. They just kind of, they're all holidayed out almost. They're all holidayed out for the most part. You get to enjoy for the most part, but then you're starting to think about what to do for the next week, and I get it. I mean, the holidays are over, so you really don't have another one until, Easter in April, so we have a little bit of time, end of March, beginning of April, depending on whatever time it lands on, but you ran out of time for your holidays. Now you're starting to gear back in. You're starting to get back into the groove, starting to get back into work. Hopefully we can start you off the right way. Good Tuesday morning to you. This is The Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hoosier. It is an absolute honor to have you along here with us for the ride as we roll along a brand new 2018, a brand new day, a brand new week, and a brand new opportunity for us to have a little fun and be politically engaged. It is the beginning of the week, so let's go ahead and get you started off the proper way, starting you off from the way that you need to, getting ready to get pumped up for the day, for the week, setting the tone, Carpe Diem all over this place.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
There it is, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. I want to hear from you all over the state of Kansas and beyond. I know you can hear me as you're starting off your day, whether it is here in Wichita, out in Garden City or Scott City, out in Guyman, Oklahoma, and beyond. We are spreading our wings every single day, having more fun than what we're supposed to be having on a radio program, because that's just what we do. And I want to hear from you all over. The topic for this hour, and I really want to get your thoughts on this because I know you've thought about it to some degree. Everybody has their New Year's resolutions. They talk about what they want to do with themselves, and I have my own personal New Year's resolutions we'll talk about later. But I want to ask you politically, your political New Year's resolution, what does it want to be? What do you want to do this year politically? I know the ideas that we have, and one of those things as a show, and the show's New Year's resolution, is that we are going to be more engaged, is that we are going to get so much information out to you that you don't have to fret. I love debating. I love arguing. I love it just for the sake of arguing, just because I enjoy it. That's what I do. That's what I feed off of. And I'll jump into a debate or an argument with anybody. A lot of people don't like to do that. I want to give you the tools. I want to be the catalyst. I want to give you the resources and the knowledge so that way anytime that someone tries to confront you on social media or at the bar or while you're at the restaurant or while you're at the family dinner or wherever you may be, you have the tools, the resources, the knowledge, and the confidence to say, you know what, you are wrong, you're a liar, and this is why X, Y, and Z. I want to give you that. Our New Year's resolution on this program is that we're going to reach so many people, is that we can change this midterm election. We can start turning around the quote-unquote energy and momentum from the opposition. They don't have it. They pretend to have it, but sometimes when you fake it until you make it, sometimes they end up creating it. And that's in politics a lot of what it is. They may have the least amount of momentum, the least amount of energy, but if they fake it until they make it, then sometimes you can scrap up enough votes to be able to get what you want. If we allow progressives to win in the state of Kansas and beyond, I'm talking about Oklahoma, you with your special session going into your new legislative session here pretty soon, trying to figure out what to do with your budget in Oklahoma. I'm talking about you, Texas, which you have a deep Republican root down there, but you still have issues where the progressives are slowly beginning to take over left and right. We're not going to allow it. I'm talking about you, Nebraska, to where you've had some budgetary issues, but it's been relatively a little bit lighter compared to Kansas and Oklahoma. I'm talking about you, New Mexico. I'm talking about you, Colorado, with you legalizing your marijuana and you running into your budgetary issues, and your nice little governor of John Hickenlooper buddying up with the Ohio Republican governor, John Kasich, and trying to expand socialized medicine, trying to expand the freedom of immigrants and dreamers, quote unquote, to do whatever the hell they want to do. We're not going to allow it any longer. We are going to grow with knowledge, with facts, and I'm sorry, but the feelings in politics are going to go to the wayside. Feelings in politics mean zero, zilch, nada. I don't care about the emotional feel. I care about what the facts say in the best way to help the most amount of people, and that's what this show is going to be about this year. I am so excited to talk about the gubernatorial race. I am so excited to be able to discuss what's going to happen with the legislative session that, by the way, in the state of Kansas begins next Monday. This coming up Monday, less than a week away, like in 6 days. Yeah, it's already happening. They are geared up. They are ready to go. The Republicans have been planning. They've been preparing. And they've been getting themselves set for what's going to be a bit of a brutal matchup, a bit of a brutal session, a bit of a legality when it comes to the Constitution, when it comes to education finance, when it comes to what the role of the different branches of government are going to be in the state of Kansas. They are prepared. I have a story that we'll talk about later in the show about how the Republicans are finally preparing an amendment to the state constitution when it comes to education finance. It's about darn time, ain't it? It's about time that we actually came up with a bill like this. Now, why do you think it's happening? Why do you think it's happening now out of all the times? We could have done this last session when we raised taxes with the largest tax increase in state history. We could have done it last session when we raised our budget after paying off our $1.2 billion deficit. We could have stopped it with what they did last year, but we didn't. And the Republicans, by the way, many of them were going along with it. Now, they don't like the fact that they did what they did not like to do, what their constituents did not want them to do. You can read the media all day long, and the media can tell you that what they did was good, that what they did the people wanted, that what they did was the popular thing to do to reverse Governor Brownback's policies. You can read the media all day long, and that's what they'll tell you. The fact is, it's not. The fact of the matter is that you going to work right now, getting off the high of the holidays for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, you going to work to try and figure out what you're going. By the way, your taxes went up yesterday. Your state taxes, they went up again yesterday. So when you get your paycheck on the 15th, it's going to be smaller even again. Because that's what they did to us. It was an extremely unpopular thing. They can go along with all of the media, with all of their nice little pundits that they go to and that they run to, and they say, oh, that's what we wanted. We felt really guilty. We need to pay more taxes. We need to start taxing the rich. We need to start taxing the LLCs. We got to start taxing the big businesses. We have to do, and now we feel really, really good about ourselves. We can tell ourselves that all the time. It does not make it true. Talking about living in a delusional world, yes, I feel really, really good about wanting to pay more taxes and have more money go into the governmental system where they didn't even cut their spending. They actually increased their spending. No more. No more. We're not going to allow that anymore. I don't care what the media says. It is a lie. You going to work right now, you are not going to be happy when you get your paycheck after working as hard as you do and coming home and seeing less on your paycheck. Everybody, the rich and the poor and the middle class and whatever political class that they want to try and lump you in as, whatever class warfare that they want to start, we're not going to allow it this year. We're done. This is the year. I've always been one when I work, my career and my family and my whatever. That's I need to be progressing. I need to be growing. I need to be doing. I need to be seeing something, the light at the end of the tunnel of a goal, of an ends to me, of something that we need to accomplish, of growing and being bigger and being better. That's why I'm really excited about the growth that we're seeing on this show this year. I'm really excited about the opportunities that we have when it comes to the elections. I'm really excited because we see growth. We see opportunity. What drives me nuts more so than anything else in the world is stagnation. I hate staying stagnant. I hate feel like I'm stuck in the mud. I've had I don't know how many jobs over my career, and there's a point to where you hit every once in a while to where afterward you're just like, I plateaued. And you know that. You know that when you're growing, when you're trying, when you see, what do they say? The American dream, you can do whatever you want to do. You can see the end. You can be whatever you want to be in the American society because you have that opportunity. And when you're trying to go towards that end goal, what you need to have goals. You need to have those goals, and you need to set yourself to them and pursue them. And once you feel that you've hit the peak of what you can possibly do, then you need to move on, and you need to grow. And that's what we do. We're seeing the end goal here. And our end goal right now on this show is to stop the progressives, the manipulation, to let everybody know how much the media has lied to them for so long. When you turn on your TV in the afternoon and you read about the news and you listen to the news and you see the news and you see what's going on and they try and tell you about how bad Governor Brownback has been and how everybody's so glad that he's done and we can't wait to raise our taxes and we can't wait to do X, Y, and Z, it's lies. Because I know you. And at the end of the day, you're growing. You're trying to hit your own personal goals, your own family goals. At the end of the day, you want to be better off than what you were at the beginning of the day. Because if you weren't, then the entire day was wasted. There was no point in doing the day because you didn't grow. And when you see less in your paycheck, when you're succeeding less because the government needs to grow, then we have a serious issue. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we get to address on this show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason on the Mid-America Network.
Hey, good morning to you. Welcome into the Voice of Reason right here on the Mid-America Network. It is an honor to have you along here on a Tuesday morning, starting off a brand new year the right way. That's just what we do. That's what we're excited about. That's what we're ready for. And I want to hear from you today on the show. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. By the way, I don't know if you watched the Facebook Live or heard the program on Friday, but that was entertaining nonetheless with the sports station, KGSO, and the Game Plan joining us as we simulcast. And we did our due diligence. We sacrificed ourselves for the PSA announcement of DUI awareness and consume the adult beverages. That was definitely an entertaining show. That is something we do. There's two shows that are very traditional for me. And I'm all about tradition. I am all about habits. I'm all about tradition. I'm all about routine. I dig that. Because once you get into it, why fix something or why change something that's not broken? Why reinvent something that you don't necessarily need to just because you want it? Now, I get needing, a fresh thing every once in a while. I totally get that. But if you're in a routine, if you're in a habit, if you're in a tradition that works, then why change it? I like tradition. That's why I'm conservative. I don't like a whole lot of change. Now we need to keep things fresh and hip and retro, I guess. But at the same time, we need to remember the basics. The basics, which is what we're going to do on the show for 2018. The political New Year's resolutions, I want to hear from you on that. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We're going to get back to the basics in politics this year. We are not going to allow the scare tactics of what the progressives have tried to do last year. That Donald Trump is a racist, is a bigot, is a white supremacist, is an X, Y, and Z, whatever. That Chris Kobach, that Governor Sam Brownback, that all the Republicans in general are just a bunch of racist, bigoted, yada, 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 yada. We're not going to let that get to us this year. That's not going to happen. We're not going to stand for it. This year, we're taking back the terminology. This year, we're taking back the conversation because no more do I want to see emails from the Democrats? Do I want to see social media posts from the Democrats? The leadership of the Democrats. We can't help whatever the voters do, and they do some really funky things. But no more do I want to see the leaders come out and say, look at that racist. Look at that homophobe. Look at that closed-minded bigot. Look at that person. Oh, conservatism, that's so 1776. That Constitution thing, that's so old. We need a living Constitution. We need something to change the times to where it specifically mentions how we should be regulating nice little 160-character tweets. Not talking about freedom of this and that and the other. We all have these freedoms protected by the government, right? Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to fall for that anymore. 316-721-8255. Let's go right to the phone tier, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Jim.
Hey, good morning, Jim. How are you, sir?
Real good, Andy. Good to talk to you. Hey, my resolution is to not forget any Republican that voted for this tax increase. And also, maybe some of the Democrats could be enlightened and think, well, all of them voted for the tax increase, but so I guess there's nothing we can talk about that with them. But just we don't want to forget any Republican in the primaries that voted for the tax increase.
No doubt. And in the House of Representatives for the state of Kansas, there are a lot of them that did choose to vote for that, both in the House and the Senate this year, primarily being in the House for the elections. But you're right. We cannot forget. They want to make us forget, which is why it happened 2 years ago and why they're not wanting to be very confrontational this year when it comes to the session starting next week. They're going to try and play nice. They're going to try and make you forget about it, try and show how conservative they are and how much they really care for you. But like I said, your taxes go up here in starting yesterday. So when we file our taxes this year, that's going to be a big remembrance when we go to the voting booth in November this year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Andy. Good to hear from you.
Hey, Jim, Happy New Year too, my friend. I appreciate it very much. You're absolutely right. Remember, we're the Republicans. We're the elephants. We have a long memory. We remember a lot of things like this. We're not going to forget, and I'm not going to let you forget. I don't like seeing less money coming out of my paycheck. I don't like that. Our New Year's resolution politically this year is we are not going to forget. Now, I understand a lot of these Republicans thought, which hopefully they had a little bit far sight than what they had, but they don't, unfortunately. But they thought that if they raised taxes the one time, then everything would be set. We'd be back on track. They wouldn't have to do it again. But the Democrat, you give them an inch and they take 2 miles. Remember that. You gave them a tax increase. What do you expect them to do? They're going to push you and push you and push you and push you. When you have moderate Republicans that are voting, a lot of them like Democrats in the state. You give them an inch, fine. Or raise taxes to compensate for the shortfall. Now we don't have to raise taxes anymore. Are you kidding me? Do you really think that the Democrats and the moderate Republicans are going to go along with that? No, they're going to say, look, we already raised them once. We're just going to have to do it again. Or let's raise spending to an out-of-control means again. Then we can blame the Republicans for not wanting to get us back on track, for draining our nice little emergency funds in the state, for draining all of our programs, for this and that and the other. All we got to do is continue to raise spending out of its means, and then we're forced to raise taxes, because if we have another conversation like we did in the last session, they're going to say, don't even try and bring up tax cuts. Don't even try and bring up budget cuts. Don't even try to bring up getting our budget back under control by limiting our spending. We have to grow, and grow. That's their goal. You give them an inch and they take 2 miles. We gave them the largest, we didn't even give them an inch. We gave them 1.5 miles already. We gave them the largest tax increase in state history retroactively. That's not an inch. That's giving them 1.5 miles, and then they just went the extra half mile to take it to 2 miles and said, look, now we're going to raise spending. We're not going to forget. They may want us to forget, but we're going to show them what happens to that in the voting booth, because we're not going to stand for it any longer. This is the Voice of Reason on the Mid-America Network. Lots to get to. Stay here.
Patriotism is alive and well. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
I have to admit, I don't think I've been this excited about a new year in a long time. Usually it's just like, all right, it's another day. We just move on. There's really no difference between yesterday and today. There's really no difference here, but I'm excited about this year. I don't think I've been excited about this in a long time. Now, I'm doing the personal New Year's resolution. I have some goals that I want to meet myself personally. on the personal side, but they really kind of coincide with what we're doing on the program and on the show. Because, well, when I'm talking to you for 3 hours a day on the show, you get me. There's no, I mean, there's theatrics to make it entertaining, but there's no fakeness to it. This is me. This is my personality. This is who I am. When I talk about something that's concerning to me, it burns deep and down inside me. Meet my wife. She'll tell you that every time that I come home, I'm still talking politics. I'm still talking issues. I'm still talking elections or candidates or votes because this stuff means so much. And my personal New Year's resolutions really coincide with what we're doing here on the show. Welcome into it here. This is The Voice Reason. I am Andy Hoosier. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. You can shoot me a message, by the way, all over social media. The Voice of Reason page on KQAM, KQM's page on Facebook, Twitter, at Hoosier Reason, the Facebook live feed that a lot of people are joining this morning. Really, really excited about you doing so. Welcome aboard and good morning. Let's go to the phone, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Scott.
Scott, how are you, sir?
Well, I have a prediction for this year because I know that fake news will continue because already they're trying to make a cover-up for this police officer who shot this man, and they're going to try to extradite the guy who just made the phone call and try to charge him with the murder instead of the cop who shot the guy. So I think the fake news couldn't even tell us who the cop was. I mean, they couldn't even release his name, but they released the name of the guy who just made a phone call.
Sure. I've heard a couple of different stories over the weekend of some altercations that the police were in here locally in the Wichita area. I heard of a couple of different stories. Now, I don't have a lot of details on them yet, as the same as you, so I'm waiting to get some more details before we discuss it. When it comes to fake news, you're right, and it's on numerous different topics all across the board, is the idea of fake news. I know that the progressives and a lot of individuals despise the term fake news, but there definitely is fake news. And when I say fake news, I just mean flat-out bold lies, not even manipulations anymore, but flat-out bold lies all across the board. So I guess you could say you're right. One political New Year's resolution is to start weeding out the fake news and getting rid of it and setting the record straight, whether it's on historical accounts, whether it's on votes and the deepness of certain bills, whether it's certain altercations that's going on. No matter what it is, we need to get rid of the fake news. And as you said, with a lot of these altercations and some of these standoffs with the police, we need to get some information and actually understand what's really going on. I don't want it to be kind of like some of these shootings that have happened, the mass shootings in the country, to where we're all excited and hyped up about it for a week and then it dies off and we never hear about it again. I want to know what's going on because you and I both know, both of us truly want to make the community a better place. And the only way we can do that is to look deeper into the issues, address them. Somebody, whether there was false play at hand, whether there was just shenanigans going on, no matter what it was, we need to figure it out. We need to address it and make sure it doesn't happen again so we can move forward in a positive way.
Well, one thing about it, whenever you see a cover-up, well, hey, the guy in California, he can't kill anybody in Wichita from where he's at. So now we know that the cop did kill the man, and we know that the man was unarmed. Now, and we also know he had nothing to do with what they're saying this was about, because like they was all a setup. And the cop was probably convinced that, hey, this guy's a murderer and I'm going to get away with shooting this guy. But in the end, like I said, they found no justification so far. But like I said, they'll cover it up, and the fake news will work with them to do it.
Well, as you mentioned, there's definitely more information to definitely get out there. Scott, I love it. I appreciate it, my friend. Happy New Year's to you. And you're right, fake news is a terrible ordeal. Now, with the shooting that you're mentioning, along with another one that I saw over the weekend that did involve police officers, I do want to get information on them and try and get down to it and try and figure out what the heck's actually going on, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the community, no matter what it is. What we need to do. And I'm not going to, you know me, I'm one of the strongest supporters of law enforcement. I'm the strongest supporter of the military. This is the most patriotic show on the radio. I am for getting to the bottom of something. It's almost like the kids when you have 4 different kids and they're all playing and one of them pinches another one or one of them falls down and gets hurt and you hear them all start arguing and bickering and crying and you see them all freaking out. And as the parent, you go to them and say, what's going on? And they all start blaming one another. Me, he did this and she said this and she did this and he did this and it's just mayhem. It's mayhem. And sometimes as the parent, you're not able to say, you did wrong and you didn't do anything. You're innocent. You're not. And sometimes you can't do it because it's just too muddy. Everybody's bickering. Everybody's trying to pass blame. We don't want to do that anymore. We're a society nowadays that likes to pass off the blame because we're never wrong. We're never wrong. We're always the victim, right? We never want to play the victim. What we need to do all across society, from both ends, from every spectrum, is when we mishap, admit it. Hey, I screwed up. I'm sorry. Not going to do it again. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to make myself a better person, and hopefully you do the same thing. And when we do that, maybe we can actually see some progress. If law enforcement does end up mishapping, feeling they can get away with something, feeling that they can do something that they shouldn't have, I'm not going to blame the entire law enforcement agency. I'm going to blame the individual officer. If it was a bad situation that shouldn't have been there in the first place, then I'm going to maybe not blame law enforcement as much, but more so the situation that happened. If it's a mass shooting, maybe we should address the reason why there's a mass shooting. If there's somebody that wants to cause harm to somebody else, then we don't need to blame society for the reason that happened. We need to blame the individual. We need to take responsibility. A great New Year's resolution politically this year. Taking self-responsibility. I am no longer going to allow someone to take the blame from me. That's the way we should view it, right? I am no longer going to play the victim. I wonder how long it's going to take. Watch your social media. Listen to people at work today. Listen to people on the streets, or if you're going shopping or whatever you're doing, listen to it. Just listen to them. I'm a people person. I like to just go and observe people. I'm not necessarily the most social person in public. I am sometimes, but other times I like to be in the background. I don't like to be the center of the attention. I like to sit in the back and just watch everything happen. And I'm a people person. I observe, and I watch what they do, and I watch what they say, and I judge them, and I base them on their character, on their actions, on their presentation, on how they present themselves. I'm a people watcher. And you know what I've noticed over the last few years? That people love to play the victim. They're never wrong. They've never done anything wrong. It's always about the other person. Now, I'm not a drama person. I hate drama. I hate gossip. I don't care about that stuff because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's like high school. Did it really matter in the end? That little fling that you had, that little tiff that you had, that little argument that you had with your best friend, your BFF at the time, then all of a sudden they started dating your boyfriend that you used to have, or the girlfriend that you used to have, whatever. And now all of a sudden your friendship's broken up, and now you're going to move on. You're never going to talk to him again. And oh my gosh. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, no matter who played the victim and who's responsible, it does not matter. Sometimes when the kids are throwing that fit and everybody's blaming one another, it's not helpful to blame one kid or another. It's time to say, stop it. Stop yelling at each other. Hug it out. Tell everybody you're sorry, and let's move on. Who cares about the blame? Who cares about whose fault it was? Because you may have thrown the first punch, but maybe you didn't instigate. Maybe you were instigated. Maybe someone teased you. Maybe you just snapped because someone did something that bugs you. Does not matter. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It does not matter, and we're not going to take it anymore. I don't care whose fault it was in the first place. Politics, if you notice, they do this a lot. They do this a ton, and they love doing that. Oh, well, you try and throw something out. Lower tax rates. Look at this. Tax rates are going to be great. Tax cuts are going to be awesome. You're going to save money. And what do the Democrats say? Oh, well, back in the day, Republicans never used to do that. Look at what George W. Bush did. I don't care what George W. Bush did. That was how many years ago? This is here. This is now. This is what we're going to do. Republicans do the same thing sometimes. Oh, look at what Jimmy Carter did back in the day. Yeah, we need to remember those things, but sometimes we need to say enough's enough. Let's clear all the BS out of the way, clear the smoke and mirrors, and let's move forward. We have an agenda to promote, and whether it is the issues with law enforcement, whether it is tax issues, whether it is a governorship race, whether it is a legislative session, we're going to remember what happened, and if they're directly involved, and by gosh darn it, we are going to remember their record, hence the tax votes that they had last year, but at the same time, we're moving forward. Every time that we get held backwards, then we end up not getting anywhere. We end up just going back and forth with historical things that sometimes are not the most beneficial. We're moving forward this year, and that's what we're going to do. Clearing away the muddiness of politics. 316-721-8255. Let's go back to the phone, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Eddie.
Eddie, good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, I didn't want to call. Well, I didn't have plans to call in, but I couldn't let this pass. Seriously, this is concerning that police officer. Now, I've been on top of this since the very beginning. I have one of the best police scanners in Wichita, and I'm on top of this from the very beginning. Briefly, what happened was there were a couple of gamers in Los Angeles playing a game, and this particular guy that was arrested, he has a habit of calling in false police reports. He once called in a bomb threat to a television station, had the television station. What he did was he called the Wichita Police Department and said there was a hostage situation at a certain address in Wichita, that he had already killed his father, and he had his brother and sister in a closet, and he was sprinkling gasoline on the floor, and he was going to burn the house down and kill them. And that's what they were responding to. And I do not blame that police officer, and I don't like it one bit when people call in and say that it was just a wanton deal. It was a horrible, horrible, tragic situation where the where a person deliberately gave information to the police department, and they responded responsibly, and it was just tragic. But that police officer, yeah, I know it has ruined him, and I know it's ruined that family, but man.
When law enforcement's involved in something like that, it changes them as well. I mean, they're just as human as everybody else, and when they have to deal with something like that, whether it's the call itself or whether it's the action when they get the call, it hurts them, and they're just as affected as everybody else. Eddie, I appreciate it. You got to take a break. You're absolutely right, and that's from the little bit that I have heard, the same claim and the same story that I've heard. Hopefully, more will come out, and we can settle this one for good.
Network.
Hey, welcome back into the Voice of Reason, wrapping up hour number 1 right here on the Mid-America Network. Appreciate you hanging out with us today on a Tuesday, kicking off a brand new 2018. How cool is that? 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK if you want to join into the program. One political New Year's resolution that we do need to have this year, regardless of elections and sessions and everything, we need to remember the Constitution. The federal Constitution, the state constitutions, the rule of law. We need to remember the rule of law. We have to. If we don't remember the rule of law, then everything that we do does not matter. I was in a discussion over the weekend, unfortunately, well, sometimes unfortunately, with an individual on social media who is all about the universal health care and trying to be about the universal, trying to, and I wasn't for it. I wasn't going to be there. I wasn't going to go that direction because at the end of the day, universal health care is unconstitutional. And his response is, well, just one simple amendment to the Constitution will fix that pretty darn quickly. One amendment will be able to clean that right up, and it's going to be all fine. No, it's not. You can't just amend it and say, you know what, everything that we stand for with limited government, with the checks and balance system, with the rights the people have, with the government not controlling every industry in the country, one amendment is not just going to wipe that all clean and fix it. And if it does, then we need to be smart enough to not allow that to happen. We need to get back to the traditions, to the origins, to the foundation, to the roots of the United States. Religious liberty. Liberty to speak freely. Religious rights to say whatever you want to, gun rights to be able to carry your fire weapon. It's not that hard to carry your firearm in the country and say, you know what, I should be allowed to go everywhere I need to, anywhere that I need to, at any time, without having to worry about whether I'm a gun-free zone or not. Or, when it comes to the religious freedom, if you remember the Christian bakery that refused to make a cake for the lesbian couple getting married, Oregon courts ruled that now they got to pay him $135,000. The Christian baker has to pay the lesbian couple $135,000 for not making them a cake because it violated their right, apparently, to have a cake. And since they apparently have to just abide by everybody's wishes, then now they have to pay up. $135,000. When did we get to the point to where religious liberty is not expressed, is not protected, is not defended? When did we get to that point? When did we get to that? Getting back to the Constitution the way it needs to. One way that we can do it, and I do want to give a pair of tickets away right now, so that way even people on the western part of the state or anybody have an opportunity, because when you buy your tickets, not only could you show up if you want to, but you also get the opportunity for online streaming. So you could be anywhere and be able to get the online streaming if you have the ticket. It's Chris Ann Hall. She's going to be in town a week from today on January 9th. She'll be here. She's a constitutional expert. She's she's president of Liberty First University. She's written tons of books. She has some videos. She's huge when it comes to the Constitution, teaching the Constitution the original way that it needs to be taught. And I have 2 tickets I want to give away, 721-8255, 721-TALK. Let's get caller number 1, and we'll get you a pair of tickets to Chris Ann Hall. You can either show up or you can get the access to the online streaming, and that way you can watch it no matter where you are, even if you are on the western part of the state or even outside of the state of Kansas. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Chris Ann Hall, she talks about the original context of the Constitution, what it really meant, state sovereignty, what we can do as a state, and what the states can do together to create a nation, but how we're still sovereign at the same time. We get to make the decisions as a state, not as a federal government. There are duties the federal government's supposed to have. There are duties the states are supposed to have. And then there are duties that you just have as an individual that no one's allowed to take away from you. The God-given rights, the natural rights, whatever you want to call them, the traditional rights that you as an individual should be having. That's what it's all about. And that's what Chris Ann Hall talks about. She is, again, president of Liberty First University. She's a nationally syndicated radio host. She travels around to schools all the time teaching the original context of the Constitution. And now she's on her Prospering Liberty Tour for 2018. She'll be here in Wichita at Century 2 Tuesday, a week from today. Tickets are $11.95, and it's very easy if you want to go on to WichitaTix.com. It's the very first item because it's coming up very quickly. WichitaTix.com, WichitaTix.com, and you can get tickets. But I do have 2 tickets right now that I can't give away for you, that either you can go to the event or you can get the online streaming. Let's do caller number 1, 316-721-8255. The phones are lighting up. We'll take that one. We'll get you your ticket to go see Chris Ann Hall coming up next Tuesday. This is your show, and I'm really excited about it. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always, 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 always speak some reason, common sense, and reason. That's what we're all about. Everybody on the western part of the state and beyond, have a great Tuesday. Here in Wichita, get ready for hour number 2 right here on KQAM.
Speak. It's time for Reason.
We go through 12 years of school, we go through a higher education system, and we have to teach basic English. We have to teach basic math. This is a 4-year college. Remember, you used to go to university to be able to go and major in something and just go and take the classes that you want to take because that's what you're going to school for. No. Now you got to go to the university. You got to do the 4-year thing, and the first 2 years of it are just taking basic classes, the same crap that you took during high school.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 2, and the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. It is 2018, baby. And I know you're excited about it. I'm excited about it. We're ready to move forward. It's going to be a brand new year. It's going to be a brand new activist year. It's going to be a new year for us to hold our elected officials accountable. I cannot stress to you, or cannot express to you, as much as I want to, how excited I am for us to create the movement that we have this year, making something happen and doing it in a somewhat entertaining way. Welcome into it. It is a Tuesday. I know we do it on a Monday, but hey, it's time to set the tone for the week. It's time to set the tone for the year. It's time to set the tone for 2018. Let's carpe diem all over this place.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
is 721-8255, 721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, I do want to hear from you today. Your political New Year's resolutions. We'll continue that as we have a lot to get to this hour, this show really today and the next couple of weeks here. Can you believe it? Tuesday. It's already Tuesday. Monday next week is the legislative session 2018. Now we have something up our sleeve that we're going to be working on here on the show and on the station. I'm waiting for the last couple details to make it happen, but we are excited to do something a little unique this year when it comes to the legislative session. So more details to come with that. But the legislators are convening Monday to kick it off. They're not wasting any time. They want to get in there, they want to get her done, and they want to get out. We're not going to allow them to get away with what they have been over the last year or two. I don't know if you realize or remember or not, but as of yesterday, oh yeah, your tax rate's a little bit higher in the state of Kansas. As of yesterday, your rates went up again. I know people like to ignore it. They like to look the other way. They like to pretend it didn't happen. But guess what? It's here and it happened. Yesterday, your tax rates went up for the state of Kansas. You will now see less money in your paycheck in the state. Everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody will see their tax rates a little bit higher in the state of Kansas. Do you feel better about that? Do you feel nice and warm and cozy inside? I don't want to start you off grumpy on the first productive day of the year, but at the same time, you need to know this. You need to be aware of it. I'm not very happy about it. I don't know about you. 721-8255-721-TALK. Coming up on hour number 3, Dominic Scavuzzo. He is one of the high school students and Republican candidates for the gubernatorial race 2018. He'll be joining us. Looking forward to chatting with him coming up in just an hour from now. But until then, we do have some calls lining up, so let's go ahead. And I say let's start off hour number 2 in 2018 with some phone calls, because this show's all about you and what's on your mind. Your political resolution this year. What do you want it to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to see happen? And what can we work on together on this program? Let's go right to the phones here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Jim, good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm almost a year older.
Hey, you know what? That's a good day. I always say that the older we get, the more seasoned and experienced we get, so therefore the more fun we get to have.
Well, I had most of my fun 50 years ago, but that's
But see, now you get to allow other people to have fun, or you get to, kind of just goof around. See, I'm going to be one of those to where when I retire, I'm going to be the one that's just kind of the sarcastic jerk on the street that, everybody either laughs at or cringes as they walk by, because it's I don't really care anymore, and it's going to be great.
Well, that's what you do on the radio right now. Anyway.
That is true. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to come to the defense of the police officers there in town. If this guy in California made a prank phone call, and particularly if he knew the person that he was calling out was a hothead, the police show up because they have a report that they're obligated. They have to go investigate.
Sure.
And when they get there, if the guy's a hothead and doesn't cooperate, and he's making furtive movements, every police officer expects to go home and hug their wife and kids and bring home a paycheck. And so the police officer is told, this guy is dangerous, dead, he's only murdered people, blah, blah. He's going to get shot.
Exactly. Here's the thing, and I didn't want to talk about this much last hour because we were on the network and in other stations outside of Wichita, and a lot of times they just don't care. But now that we're just here broadcasting in Wichita, you're right. Here's the thing. Again, I do want to wait for some more information to come out on the details of this. But first off, if someone's making false police reporting, we need to handle that, and we need to punish them seriously.
It's reckless homicide.
Exactly.
The guy. Now, here's the thing. I hope these officers had body cams.
Sure.
I hope they have body camera footage that shows, combined with the phone call and the report, the information they had about the situation. You go in, you're expecting, you're facing a life and death situation.
Sure.
And if the person you're going to talk to is violent, verbally or physically, your reaction is going to be, if he goes towards his waist, if he reaches into his pocket, if he does these things, you have to assume he's getting ready to, pull a hand grenade or something. And so the officer followed his best judgment, and I cannot fault the officer.
I'm with you. I have a very, very hard time trying to criticize a law enforcement officer when they react to something in a situation, because they've been trained to, first off, not take any chances. They've been trained, which we shouldn't. I mean, we should not take any chances. If you're in a situation where there is violence, there's potential of
die.
Exactly, bullets to be flying somewhere. We don't want innocents to be harmed. We don't want to be harmed. We don't want them to be harmed. We don't want it to happen. So we need to stop.
Cooperate with the police.
And that's the thing.
When they knock on your door and say we've got to come in and look, we had a murder here in the apartment complex near where I live, just right across the courtyard. Last year, the mother who was murdered and her baby stolen, and the police wanted to come in and look in our apartment, which was a mess because I'm not a housekeeper. But I invited them in, let them look around.
Sure.
They looked around. There was no baby. They left. Now, I could have been.
You could have been a jerk and said, wait for the court
said,
order and wait for this and that and the other.
Yeah,
and then they said,
what would it have done?
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. And I get people want their privacy. I totally get that. But you said it goes back to what I mentioned last hour. It's personal responsibility. If the law enforcement, if someone is asking you a question, asking you to do something, or even demanding you to do something, you do it. You don't fight it. You don't question it. You just do it. And then you deal with the repercussions. Look, if they abuse you, if law enforcement abuses you by searching when they shouldn't have searched and you don't feel like it was justified.
That's what courts are for.
Exactly. That's what the courts are for, and that's what you go to afterwards to fight it. You don't fight it on the scene. You don't create a scene, and then when it's already a tense and stressful situation, you don't take it to the next level to try and even instigate even something more to happen to lead to what happened over the weekend. Now, there was another one that I saw, and I don't know the story on this one either or the details yet and it was just a brief deal about how a law enforcement officer went to shoot a dog and ended up shooting a 9-year-old girl, unfortunately. And I don't know if she died. I don't know if she lived. I don't know what the story was there either. So I don't like to judge on cases like that until I get the details. But at the same time, we have to follow the law when we're asked to do something, when they tell us to do something. You follow the law. Look, we have something called the rule of law. And Jim, I want to get to another phone call here, but you made some really great points. We have something called the rule of law. We live in a society, and the only way society functions properly is when we all abide by the same rules and we acknowledge those rules on how we're actually supposed to live. We have social norms. I know a lot of people don't like that. The progressives especially, they don't like social norms. They don't like people telling them how to live their lives, quote unquote, when that's not necessarily the case. But they don't like people telling them how to live their life. So what do? They go out of their way to rebel against it. They go out of their way to stop because they're the rebels. And that way they can feel good about themselves because you can't tell me how to live my life. But we have certain norms in society, certain rules under the rule of law on how you should and should not act. And if you don't abide by those, then there are those in society called law enforcement that punishes you for that stops you from doing what you shouldn't be doing. And if you don't abide by their wishes, then you will get in trouble. I have a very hard time criticizing law enforcement when you don't follow the law. I have a very hard time attacking law enforcement when either them or you have escalated a situation to the point to where something bad, terrible happens, and then we get to play the blame game. It's like the example I used last hour where at the end of the day, you're the parent walking into the backyard where all the kids are yelling and screaming and they start blaming each other because he said this and she threw this and he threw this and he pinched me and you don't know whose fault it was. I don't really care. Let's stop the situation altogether. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We have rules, kids. We have rules. And we need to follow them. Don't pinch your sister. Don't hit your brother. Don't Don't beat him over the head with a baseball bat. That's not a good thing. Don't pull out the gun. Don't instigate something. Don't fight against law enforcement. And then we'll be all fine and hunky-dory. Won't we? 2018 can be the year that we can fix that. I saw the crime rates. There was a story about how the crime rates in Topeka actually went up this year compared to last year, and now they're trying to, of course, blame gun control. When are we going to take personal responsibility over the actions of individuals and not say it's because there's more guns on the street, but say because stupid people have the guns and are doing stupid things with them? And if we know that they're going to not be appropriate, then they shouldn't have that gun, or we should make sure there's enough guns around them to where they second guess them wanting to actually act stupidly. 721-8255, 721-TALK. Let's go back to the phone, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
I don't know. Are you talking to me? This is Geezer.
Geezer, how are you, my friend?
Well, I'm pretty good. I heard something in the first hour that needs a little clarification to get it right regarding this Chris Ann event. What we're hoping to do is to simulcast this absolutely free. It won't require having a ticket. But if you buy a ticket and we can get this thing sold out, we will do a professional job of simulcasting it, live streaming it, so that everybody who wishes to look can look. And it's a prototype for what we hope to do later in the year. So far, I've financed this thing entirely myself, and I'm a broke old man. But we're moving toward getting this done. I've got everything lined up. If we can sell this thing out, then plenty of money is available to pay the professionals to live stream this with class broadcast quality HD performance, and we're really wanting to do that. So if you buy a ticket, we're anxious to have you buy a ticket. We'd like to see you there. And by the way, I just checked the weather forecast, and we're going to be starting the January thaw that day. Supposed to be about 40 degrees.
Well, that is a good thing, because this 9 degrees right now in Wichita is driving me nuts. I don't like the cold, and I guess winter's finally hit us when it comes January 1. And yesterday I actually had to work on some vehicles outside, and it was in the morning. It was like -2, -3 degrees. I was not very happy about that.
Oh my goodness, that's Chinese toenail torture.
Exactly.
Man,
exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Geezer, I love it. I appreciate it, my friend. Happy New Year to you. And you're absolutely right. I'm so excited about the Chris Ann Hall event coming up on Tuesday, a week from today. And you have the opportunity for the live streaming. We do have some tickets. We'll give some more tickets away coming up before this hour's done. So stay tuned in for that with Chris Ann Hall's Prospering Liberty Tour 2018 at the Convention Hall at Century 2 coming up a week from today. Really excited about that. We'll have some more tickets to give away for that. If you do want tickets, WichitaTix.com, and you can sign up for that there. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll get your thoughts and calls. It is our 2018 political New Year's resolution. What do you want to see fixed? What do you want to see changed? I know politics is a very depressing, sometimes very frustrating, very angering situation, and very interesting conversation to have. But what do you want to see changed? Even in politics itself, what do you want to see changed? This year we can make it happen. This year we can do it. I know it seems like a big feat, but you know what? You know what they always said, the old cowboy trick? Instead of actually just being a little reserved and just doing a little by little, bite off more than you can chew and figure out how to chew it. That's what I'm all about, and that's what we do on the show. That's what we're going to do with our statewide politics this year. 21 minutes past the hour. This is The Voice of Reason on KQAM.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Bang, bang!
Welcome into 2018. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Welcome into KQAM. It is an absolute honor to have you along here. I love all the phone calls. Let's continue them rolling in. 721-8255, 721-TALK. If you want to join in your political New Year's resolutions, what do you want to see? The false narrative is what I want to get rid of. When an issue happens and we start blaming things other than the people that are directly involved, whether it is law enforcement, whether it is a shooting, whether it is the politics, I don't want to hear another, there's a tax increase on the middle class because they want to do tax cuts. Those evil, terrible Republicans. And then after it's all said and done, and they're like, well, they didn't permanentize it, so it's not that good. Because it actually was a good policy, but they were jealous. They were totally jelly. They didn't get it on their end. So it's not good when it's trying to go through, but now that it is through, it's not good because it's not permanent. So let's make it permanent. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. When we talk about crime and we talk about gun rates, which is unfortunate that we have to deal with that in the first place, we need to look at the, again, individual. We need to look at individualism, and maybe that's what 2018 is going to bring back. If you're noticing, politics have been changing dramatically, not just because of Donald Trump, but politics have been changing dramatically because more and more people have disengaged themselves and turned themselves away from the federal politics because they don't feel they can do anything. They don't feel that they have a say in it. They don't have a voice in it, so they've been disengaged. If you notice media is changing dramatically. No longer are you really watching the quote-unquote mainstream media. You're watching alternative media. You're watching media on radio, and you're watching media on social media, and you're watching media on some of the alternative outlets. You're not following the mainstream anymore because it's been localized. So nowadays, you can get the local information at the same capacity as you do with the national information, and now all of a sudden you're feeling re-energized and re-engaged because now you can actually have a say. With a radio show like this, we can talk about the Kansas politics without having to wait in line or wait on the phone for a national syndicate to get 30 seconds of your time, have them cut you off, and then move on to the next thing. Now you get a voice. You get a voice. What are we going to do with our tax rates? What are we going to do with our budget? What are we going to do with X, Y, and Z at the state level? We get to not only have the voice, but we get to do something about it because we're directly involved. When we talk to the county commission or the city council or the police department or the sheriff's department or whatever we may be talking to at that day, we get that voice. We get that opportunity. Media and politics have now become more local. And when it becomes more local, you can't use the broad spectrum scarecrow attack machine that politics have done for years. You can't build the scarecrow instead of directly affecting or directly attacking a certain policy with detail. They usually don't like to do that. They'll build the scarecrow, they'll attack the scarecrow, and then we move on. Meaning we don't actually address the real issue. When there's a shooting, we can no longer say, time for more gun control. Why? Because after a while, you start looking and say, okay, we have gun control. We already have the system. We already have the background check. We already have X, Y, and Z. We have the process in place. Why isn't it working? Why? Because individuals are wanting to cause harm. And when individuals want to do something, they'll figure out a way to do it. The person that actually goes to the casino to try and count cards. Yeah, it's illegal, but they know they could possibly make money on it. So what are they going to do? They're going to try it. The hacker that hacks into your computer system to steal your information, yeah, is it illegal? Of course it is. But they're going to figure out a way to do it because they can blackmail you, they can steal your information, and you won't have a clue of who they are. Politics, when it becomes local, becomes very difficult for them to play that same game, and that's why you and I get to hold them accountable at the local and statewide levels. Bottom of the hour news coming up. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Right on! Let's do it! Rock that world! Rock that world!
Give him a call at 721-TALK.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM. It is an honor to have you along today on 2018's kickoff program. 35 minutes past the hour, 721-8255, 721-TALK. When we talk about personal responsibility, I saw a story recapping 2017. 2017 was a bad year, let's be honest. I mean, not a bad year, but it was just a rough one. Had some rough around the edges. This year, we get to actually see a little bit better, hopefully, momentum and some personal responsibility. 29 homicides in Topeka for 2017, the deadliest year on record, breaking its previous record of 28 back in 1994. The number of homicides in Topeka rose from the third consecutive year and more than quadrupled compared to 2014, which saw 7. In terms of motive, according to the Topeka Capital Journal, 11 were drug and or gang related, 6 were arguments. Arguments. You stole my pint of beer, how dare you? I'm going to pull out my gun and take care of this. 5 were domestic and 3 are unknown. So what's going to be the motive behind that type of discussion as a recap, other than just saying, okay, we saw the most amount of crime and the most amount of homicides in 2017 for the city of Topeka? Where do we go from there? Well, you know what's going to happen. It's in the city. It's in the state's capital, for crying out loud. The legislators are going to go there and say, look, record number of homicides right after we implement constitutional carry. We really got to start talking about that constitutional carry thing. We really got to start talking about the guns instead of looking at the motives, drug and or gang related. Okay, there's still a massive amount of drugs in the country and in the state. What are we going to do to address that? Are we going to, number one, legalize the drug and pretend that it's not an issue? Which seems like the solution for some other places. Are we going to allow gangs to continue to be, or are we going to actually crack down on gangs? If you are a member of a gang, then we're going to bust you. 6 arguments. Okay, people are emotionally very stressed. We've seen that all over the country. We've seen the cases of people who freak out over ridiculous things. If you look at social media, you'll see the people that freak out because they forgot their French fries in the McDonald's drive-thru and they go off and go postal. You see the people who are extremely stressed, especially around the holidays, to where finances are not good, to where personal relationships are not good. What was the big shooting that happened? What was it, earlier last year or late the year before in 2016? Where the guy went on the shooting spree at his work because he was having marital stress with his wife or his ex-girlfriend or whoever it was. People are stressed. People are high anxiety. How do we address that? You don't fix it by raising their taxes, legislators. You don't say, oh, okay, I know that you're going through some financial stress. We don't want you to go postal and snap and actually go on a shooting spree, so we're going to raise your taxes to make sure that you have less money in your paycheck when you come home to be able to help take care of your family even better, because we're here looking out for you. 721-8255. 5 domestic abuses and domestic issues. We need to actually bring back the focus on the family, the traditional family values. When we do that, then maybe we wouldn't have domestic issues as well, or at least less of them. We're always going to see it, unfortunately, but ways that we could limit it, that we can minimize it. None of those solutions, by the way, are actually addressing the quote-unquote gun issue by taking away your firearms. Oh, if they didn't have the guns, then they wouldn't shoot each other over the argument over whose pint of beer that was. They wouldn't have the argument over that drug deal that went bad. They wouldn't have the guns to shoot them, just like they wouldn't have the drugs if we made them illegal. Or they would just not fight over it if it was legal. No matter what direction you go, there's always going to be a negative side to that. So the push to start banning guns again, which I know that they've been talking about. Kansas City saw crime rates, Topeka saw crime rates, Wichita saw spiking crime rates, and they all had to do with guns. So what do? Obviously, we should take away the guns, right? 721-8255-721-TALK. Let's go to the phones today, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, Andy. This is Ron.
Good morning, Ron. How are you, my friend?
Well, Happy New Year, Andy.
Happy New Year to you.
There's 2 things I'd like to see legislatively in the state this year. Is one, I'd like to see the legislators to tell the Supreme Court to go pound sand. and let's get this out of the court system in Kansas, and let's go to a higher court and get this resolved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And number 2, I'd like to see a law that says that they cannot use taxpayer money to sue the taxpayers over the school issues.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice.
Or any other issue.
Wouldn't that be nice? Let me read it. I want to read you a headline, and then I want to ask you a question about this. But here it is. Kansas, this is from the Topeka Capital Journal over the weekend. Kansas GOP making moves to prepare for April vote on K-12 constitutional amendment. And they're talking about finally creating a bill on the Constitution or an amendment to the Constitution when it comes to educational finance. This is the headline of what goes into our legislative session that begins on Monday, by the way, next week. That's going to go through March, April, whenever it may be, and hopefully they're going to have this vote in April. Why do you think they're finally doing it this year? Is it because now the Republicans are in a bad spot, now that they've raised their taxes, the largest tax increase in state history last year? Do you think it's because now the Democrats are getting more bold and wanting to fight for and push for that $600 million? Or is it because they truly honestly feel now is the time to actually make a change?
Well, I'm not too sure that they actually feel they need to make a change. I know that the Republicans know they're in trouble come this election in November.
So they're trying to save face.
Yes, and I think they're trying to, because right now what's running around up there is what I'm hearing is they're talking 18% across the board budget cuts.
Sure,
is what I'm hearing.
That was I don't think it's going to happen. That was the scare tactic that the Republicans used. Fine, if you want the $600 million in additional educational finance, we're going to do an 18% budget cut across the board for every agency. That's not going to happen, but that was the scare tactic. Again, I have a beef in a bone to pick with the Republicans. If you're going to threaten something, at least do it to where you know that you can possibly actually make it happen, rather than just scaring for the sake of scaring when you actually can't back it up. You got to put your actions where your mouth is, and if you threaten an 18% budget cut across the board, you better be able to back it up. But I really don't see the same ones that just did the largest tax increase in state history backing up an 18% budget cut across the board. I really don't see them doing it, because if they could, why didn't they do it last year?
Well, the thing of it is that they know they can't back it up. But the thing of it is, they can always say, "Well, we tried."
We tried.
Okay,
but see, they're going to have a hard time with that too, because we still have a Republican supermajority. They passed. They didn't just only pass the tax increase; they did it by overriding the governor's veto, which took 3/4 of the vote in both chambers, which means they have the votes as a Republican Party to do something. If they say that they don't have the support to be able to do it, that's on the Republican Party. That's the same one trying to save face right now in the first place. So I'd have a really hard time with that excuse.
Well, I do too, but
you're right. They're going to try it though.
They're going to try because they're going to be desperate by the time they get to November.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. They don't know what to do. And Ron, I appreciate it. Happy New Year's to you, my friend. I appreciate the call very much. 720-255-7221-TALK. The Republicans are in a predicament this year, and that's why our voice in our phone calls and our emails and our social media, it's more important now than it ever has been before, just for the fact that they're going to be listening to their constituents closer than they ever have before, because they're going to try and save face to run for the elections again in November. This is an election year for the midterms in the House. There are many members of the House of Representatives in the state of Kansas that are very sketchy on what they actually believe, and they're very sketchy on conservative principles, and they showed their true colors this last legislative session. So now they're coming in and they're making these bold statements like they're the Billy Bad you-know-whats. They're the boys that are coming in just walking into town, and they're going to lay down the law, and they're not going to take this anymore, and we're going to stop this shenanigans because we can't take this liberal progressive agenda anymore. And you raised taxes last year. Yeah, but we needed to do so because Brownback implemented that tax cut, and it was just a terrible thing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lay down the law. We're going to create a constitutional amendment. We're going to cut 18% across the board if they want that education. We're going to make all these. We're going to make it happen. No, you're not. If you did, you would have done it last year. If you did, you would have realized that the largest tax increase in state history was a bad idea. This is not, I mean, you can try and do it. Now, if they do it, I'll applaud them. And I hope they do it. But I have very little faith in doing so. Now, if they do it and they actually support it, then that may muddy the waters a little bit on who we're going to support for the midterm elections next year. Here's what I would want to see. I would want to see, number one, that them actually complete this with a constitutional amendment on education. I want to see them do the massive cuts from other agencies from across the board, cutting the budget. Maybe not across the board because some agencies do actually need the money, but I do want to see budget cuts dramatically be cut. And then I want to see them with a absolute promise, a 100% promise that the same Republicans trying to save face that are going into 2019 next year, with the very first thing that they implement when they get in there as a Republican majority, hopefully still by then, I mean, we'll see a Republican majority in the election next year, but it just may be a little bit different makeup of the Republican Party. But 2019, the very first bill that they do is a massive tax cut across the board for everybody, businesses, LLCs, I know you hate that. Businesses, LLCs, individuals, rich, poor, middle class, whatever, across the board, sales tax, income tax, property tax, all across the board do cuts along with the budget cuts. If you do that, then maybe we'll look at getting you reelected because we are your boss. And as Donald Trump would say, pretty soon, you're about to be fired. 720-255-7221-TALK. Let's go back to the phones here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Bill.
Bill, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Andy, first and foremost, you are doing such a fabulous job. I look forward to listening to you every morning when I get ready for work.
Well, thank you.
You are on my radio, and I really appreciate what you do.
I really appreciate that. That's a great way to start off the year. I very much appreciate that, Bill.
Now, this is going in a little different direction. I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but it seems like there's a new rule or law, I'm not sure exactly what it is, that states if you don't have a gold star on your driver's license by the year 2020, you will not be allowed to get on a commercial flight.
A gold star on your driver's license. That is a very interesting story. I have not heard that, but I will definitely do a little bit of digging on that today.
You know, I heard about that by word of mouth. Somebody at work was talking to me about, no, it actually was somebody that came out of DMV, that when I was going to renew my driver's license, and I said, what? They said, yes, by the year 2020, if you don't have this gold star on your driver's license, you are not allowed to get on a commercial flight. How can they enforce something like that?
Well, the first question I have is, what's the qualification to get the gold star? Is it your driving record? Is it how many guns you own? Is it a criminal history? I mean, what's the what makes you or allows you to get that gold star to be able to fly on a commercial plane?
Well, I went to DMV, and I had a lot of problems with them getting the credential that they require. The number one is you need to have your birth certificate. Number two, you have to have your Social Security card. And number three, you have to have a billing statement that identifies your residence, that you live where you claim you live. And, we have driver's licenses that have all this, well, not the driver's license, not the birth certificate or the, Social Security number, but the address is right on our driver's license. And, I mean, how can you require something like that when it's already there? It's already been established.
Sure. Well, and they already have their system. They check your passport, or they check your driver's license, or they check your birth certificate when you go and you fly. For the most part, they at least check your ID to some degree. And then they have the access to the background check to see whether you're on a no-fly list or whether you have a criminal record or whether you're wanted by the FBI. And they already checked that, so it'd be interesting to see why they would want that on your... Now, they do check your driver's license along with your ticket when you actually go through security, but they already have all that information, so I don't know why they'd want that on your card when it could be just as easily manipulated or created through a fake ID, which nobody does in the first place anyways, right?
Well, it's just one more chip in our rights, just against what we stand for in this country. And it's just one thing after another that, makes us, and I hate to say this, second-class citizens. And it's just an absolute shame that we have to deal with this on a day-by-day basis. If I had not known about this, and say my daughter lives in Rochester, New York, she has an emergency at 2020 when this thing is enacted. I get down there to the airport and I say, I want to fly to Rochester, New York. You got a gold star on your driver's license? Well, no. Well, I'm sorry, you can't get on this airplane.
Mm-hmm. I would, if it's true, then I would be very frustrated with that myself, and we'll have to let me do a little research on this and see what the details are and if this is going to happen, because that should be something that we should be aware of. But you're right, with all the regulations that they put in for our security, protecting ourselves from ourselves, they seem to forget the fact that we actually run this country. They don't.
Oh, it just seems like it's the other way around. They're dictating to us what we can and cannot do, and it's just so frustrating. I'm retired. I'm retired, but I'm still working. But nonetheless, it just seems like there's obstacles in front of us everywhere we look.
Sure.
And thank God for President Trump. If we'd have gotten her in, I'm telling you, we'd have been a cooked goose in this country.
She who must not be named. I like that. I like it. Bill, Happy New Year to you, my friend. I really appreciate the kind words. You're absolutely right. We are moving in the right direction, which is why I want to use the momentum from 2017 to make 2018 the best year that we've had in a really, really long time. Last year was the rocky one, getting all the foundation set, trying to make it somewhat stable for us to move in the right direction. Now that we have, this year at the federal level and at the statewide level, you and I, baby, we get to make this change. We get to make it happen. We get to do something that we have not seen in a really long time. The progressives think they had the momentum. Just wait until we show up to the voting booth. We show up with our petitions. We show up with our activism. They're not going to know what hit them. Their nice little activism they had for the special elections last year, it's not going to be anything compared to what we're doing this year. 721-8255, 721-TALK. Really quick, I do want to give away, before we take a break, one more pair of tickets to the Chris Ann Hall Prospering Liberty Tour 2018. It is a week from today at Century 2 at the Convention Hall. Tickets are $11.95. You can go to WichitaTix.com, WichitaTix.com, but I have a pair of tickets for you to be able to get into the event next week. It's going to be at 5 p.m. when doors open. The event starts at 7 o'clock. Chris Ann Hall, your president of Liberty First University, constitutional expert, teaching about state sovereignty, teaching about the original context of the Constitution, teaching the youth, teaching the public, and getting us engaged on how we can actually make a difference in a constitutional republic, on what we should be, what we used to be, and how we can get back to that. Chris Ann Hall, I got a pair of tickets we'll give to you right now. Caller number 1 at 721-8255, 721-TALK. This is the Voice of Reason on KQAM.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
So a lot of people on the social media, on Facebook Live, blowing up about the voter ID, or not the voter ID, but the driver's license with the star on it for the no-fly list. And I checked my wallet. I have the gold star on mine. Some people already saying, Mrs. Voice of Reason saying she's got it on hers. Apparently we're okay to drive. But it seems to be happening, has been happening for a while, cleaning up. I'd have a hard time supporting something like that just for the fact that they already have the information. Are you going to try and make it more mainstream and easier? I guess you can, but at the same time, how easy is it for people to manipulate something like that? Happens all the time. There you go. 721-8255-721-TALK. Congratulations to Gary for winning the tickets there. And Brian's on the line here. Brian, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Good morning.
Happy New Year. I was just calling in to make a comment on the driver's license. My wife went to the DMV last week, and they told her she had to bring in her marriage license, her birth certificate, and her Social Security card, or she wouldn't be an American citizen. And she told them, well, you can't change my citizenship. And they said, well, if you want to fly or you want to do this, and she said, well, you issued me this driver's license, and I've already shown you all that stuff. But
right,
they said she has to make another trip in
with all that information. So they literally said that if she didn't have all that documentation, then she wouldn't technically be really a U.S. citizen because she couldn't do anything or go anywhere.
Right, and that's what they told her, and she got kind of upset and said, well, you somebody at the DMV is not going to tell me if I'm a U.S. citizen or not.
So wait a second. We have to bring in our driver's license, our birth certificate, our Social Security number, this, that, and the other, which my wife, she finally just transferred her driver's license from Colorado to Kansas and had to go through the same process, which was completely ridiculous and absurd. So we have to show all this documentation for us to get that nice little driver's license with the gold star to say that hey, we're an American citizen. But at the same time, we're not requiring to show that identification when we try to register to vote. And they're not wanting to make us do that because, well, you shouldn't have to show all that documentation when you actually go to vote. That really shows, like the last caller, that we are really the second-class citizens here.
Yep.
Absolutely. Oh. Brian, I love it. Happy New Year to you, my friend. I appreciate the call. The struggle is real. You must show all your documentation to prove that you actually are a citizen to actually, fly. But try and vote? We shouldn't be allowed. We shouldn't have to show all that documentation. We shouldn't have to show that stuff. And you that's trying to implement that, you're racist. Okay.
Speak.
It's time for Reason.
We go through 12 years of school, we go through a higher education system, and we have to teach basic English. We have to teach basic math. This is a 4-year college. Remember, you used to go to university to be able to go and major in something and just go and take the classes that you want to take because that's what you're going to school for. No. Now you got to go to the university. You got to do the 4-year thing, and the first 2 years of it are just taking basic classes, the same crap that you took during high school.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get
Voice of Reason, hour number 3 of the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. It is a 2018 kickoff to the KQAM airwaves and the Voice of Reason. Welcome aboard. Good morning to you wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing this morning. Good morning to you. It's an honor to have you along here. This is the Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hoosier, 721-8255-72-TALK. It is a Tuesday. Starting off the day the right way, getting you pumped up, setting the tone for the day, setting the tone for the week, for the month, for the entire year of 2018. It's kind of exciting, is it not?
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
There it is, 721-8255-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, you're more than welcome to do so. Shoot me a message all over social media, on Facebook, on the Voice Reason page, the KQAM page, on the Twitter, at Hoosier Reason, the Facebook Live feed we have rolling, which many people loving and checking it out. We love it, appreciate it. Really great honor to have you aboard there. Before we get to our guest here, I do have a caller with Jim. Wanted to comment on the driver's license real quick. Jim, what's going on, my friend?
Well, yeah, it's the Real ID Act, and they just want to verify that everybody is, in fact, a citizen when they're using the driver's license for identification to go into a military base or other such things.
Sure.
But if you have a passport and you show up at the driver's license office with your passport that has your married name on it, if you're a woman, and you have that passport, you don't need a birth certificate because you had to have that to get the passport. You don't have to verify your marriage license. It's all there. So if you have a passport because you travel and you have it, or like me, I got a passport card.
Sure.
Because I wanted to be able to prove I'm a citizen.
Right, and that's all fine. My problem that I have with it, which I get it, they want to make it a little more streamlined. If it's, you check it, you're an American citizen, you can go places, you can do things. So when people check your ID, I get it, that's nice. But we have numerous different types of ID cards in the country. If you're a citizen versus if you're a green card versus if you're just a visitor versus if you're a naturalization versus whatever. But when we start hearing people throw a fit about the fact that we shouldn't verify ourselves to the same extent to register to vote, but now we're not allowed to fly, or we're not allowed to drive, or we're not allowed to have that ID with that star. Like there's two different standards here that I think are completely ridiculous.
I think you should have to prove that you're a citizen to vote every time you vote.
Like, even if you're not a naturalized citizen or you're not a U.S. citizen, you should still be able to fly commercially if you're here on a green card or you're just visiting, and that shouldn't be a problem. But you should go through a process like that if you're trying to register to vote to make sure that you're voting the right way. So that's the problem I have. Jim, I love it. I appreciate it because you're right. I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, we're having two different standards for two different things, which we're focusing on too much of a stringent requirement standard for one thing that shouldn't have it, while we should be focusing on that same kind of standard for the other part that's not getting it, which is, to me, just a little funky. But welcome to politics in 2017. 2018 is going to be, hopefully, a bigger, better, and new year. I'm really excited to get our next guest on the show, so let's go ahead and get to him as we get ready for the gubernatorial race 2018 to decide what direction the country is going to go. We've had a few of the candidates on. We're going to be getting more of them on before the first debate in February. He's one of the high school students. He is one of the Republican candidates for the gubernatorial race. He is Dominic Scavuzzo on the line with us. Dominic, good morning to you, my friend.
Morning, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's an honor to have you on here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to you. What a year it was last year, and what a year it's going to be this year with the election. How do you feel?
I think this is a very key election to our state. You look, as well as in the nation, because of the recent Virginia and Alabama races leaning Democratic. I think this is a race that we need to make sure leans Republican.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about your past, your history. You are in high school. Talk about what got you to the point to where you want to run for the governor for the state of Kansas.
Well, I've been interested in politics my entire life, and over the past year, my political views have definitely been strengthened. I went to the inauguration of President Trump in January. I went to Kansas Boys State in Manhattan, Kansas over the summer, which is the political leadership camp. And while we were at that camp, me and a bunch of high school students were looking for ways to get involved with politics because we saw that we wanted to get involved. And upon looking what we could do, we found that you can in fact run for governor at our age. So I started to think about it a little more, and I realized the opportunity that was very rare, as I saw this as a possible career in the future as well. So I jumped on it.
Sure. It is definitely very rare. And I know it's got a lot of media attention because there's 4 or 5 different high school students from the Republican and Democrat side altogether, which is very interesting for an election. What's the response that you've gotten from your peers, from your parents, from your neighbors and friends? What do they think when you say, hey, I'm a high school student, but I'm running for the governor of Kansas?
They've all been very supportive. At first there's a couple laughs, and then they go, well, go for it. Our politics are kind of crazy right now, so really anything can happen is really what they say, but they've been very supportive.
Well, we are in a time to where unique things happen in politics, hence the election of Donald Trump. So you're right. I mean, we can't count the eggs until they're hatched sort of thing, and bringing new, fresh light. It's encouraging to see, to me, the high school students, which I'm a millennial, I'm a younger individual myself, and to be able to see younger kids get engaged in politics is really encouraging to see and to be able to view. So I thank you guys and all the other high school students that are in running, because it's getting the young generation engaged again. Now I have to ask, well, first off, what school do you go to?
Rockhurst High School in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, very good. So you're up in Kansas City. The layout and some of the other students that you're around that you see, the young generation, what's the feel? Because we see in the media all the time that they're nothing but the left-wing progressive Bernie Sandersite socialists who want the free college and the free goodies, and they want this and that and the other. Is that what you're seeing when you walk down the hallways, when you talk to other students, when you talk to other politically engaged students?
No. Okay, so, when you walk through the halls, first of all, there's not much talk about politics, which is a large reason why I wanted to run, to increase that talk. People now want to ask me what's going on with the election, who's running, what are their platforms. But they're quiet, and I think that by me running, Bernie Sanders was what got all the young Democrats excited. But I think all the high school students are getting the young Republicans excited and coming out and saying, being stronger about their platforms and really just becoming more conservative young students.
Sure. No, it's good to hear. It's good that especially you guys are beginning to grow something that I don't think the progressives are actually prepared for. Talk about your platform a little bit. We've heard a different plethora of ideas for the state between the tax rates, between education, between this, that, and the other. But overall, your platform, what do you want to see in Kansas if you end up becoming governor of Kansas in 2018?
The biggest part of my platform is definitely the idea of transparency. Right now, we have one of the most secretive governments in the nation. There's been Star articles about it, Wichita Eagle articles about it. And this goes back to, I think, there was a bill offered by Stephanie Clayton out of Overland Park, which said if we're voting on a bill 48 hours before if it's budget, they put it online so the citizens can read it, and 24 hours if it's just a regular bill. I think this is great because it allows the citizens to reach their representatives and truly know what's going on in Topeka. When I did a speech at Lawrence Free State High School, I said, raise your hand if you know what they're voting on in Topeka this week. And no one raised their hand. No one knows what's going on. So I think by doing this, we can cut out reckless spending that our state has, cut out programs that we don't really need. And this can raise money for things like education that is being debated whether we need to raise money for.
Sure. Talk about small business in the state and in your sites. I mean, coming from Kansas City, I'm sure you see a lot of businesses, small businesses. I don't know how much you have experience or history with agriculture and the farming, but talk about it's been a struggle. The businesses have not grown. The economy has not grown the way it needs to with the tax cuts that Governor Brownback did in 2012. Possibly or probably could have done a lot better if we actually saw GDP growth. The economy kind of tanked at the same time, and we didn't see that growth. What can we do to embolden and make the small businesses start growing again in the state?
Both my parents are small business owners. My mom owns a yogurt shop, and my dad owns a meat company. And, they always tell me that the tax rates need to change. That's the biggest thing for them to operate. So when I look at, the White House and what's going on with Trump and the tax reform, I think that is something that we could start to apply to our state. Not necessarily the Brownback tax cuts, but lean more towards making sure everyone benefits from these tax cuts.
Well, that's what we need to do. We need to see it all across the board for everybody. Talking about the tax cuts, your thoughts on the Brownback tax plan. Did you think it was good, or when we came into the session last year when they did repeal it, did you see the need for the repeal? What's your take on the whole tax rates in the state?
Yes. I will say, I at the beginning when he was first proposed, I thought it could work. However, when it did not go as planned, I think there was a need to repeal it simply because when you go around our country, Kansas is not really highly respected because of this. And I think that's a reputation that we need to change. I think if we kept it in, it may have eventually worked itself out, but I don't think it would have been able to stay in there long enough for the people to realize that.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about education for a minute. You're seeing it firsthand with the public education system, and as you know, the Supreme Court demanding that it's not quite funded the way it needs to be. Some on the progressive side say that we need the additional $600 million. We already increased it $200 million over the next couple of years for our public system. We increase it every year. Do we need more money into it? Do we need to stop the Supreme Court? What's your take on this whole debacle?
Well, like I said, transparency. I don't believe we need to raise it anymore. I think we just need to go back into our budget and go through it step by step and see where we can raise money, cut money. Like the programs we have that can be deemed unnecessary, and transparency that cuts out reckless spending. We should be able to raise enough money and just figure out a school equation that works better than what we currently have. Right now, it's median income factored in with the population of students in the school district. We need to find a way to fix that equation because right now some school districts are getting too much money, other ones are not getting enough. There just needs to be a good balance.
Sure. Going into this session, we start the new legislative session Monday next week already, which is hard to believe it's kicking off that quickly. But what would you like to see out of this? Whether it is the education debate and the Republicans have said that they may potentially propose an amendment when it comes to education finance and limiting the Supreme Court, when it comes to some of the spending or maybe potentially cutting some of the budget. If you were governor right now and you were watching them go into the session after what we saw last year, what would you like to see at the end of it to say this was a successful legislature?
Well, the first thing first, we need to go through and just literally work everything out in the budget because right now, like I said, the reputation of our state's not that great. And I think if we can just go through, cut out those programs, raise money. But at the end of the session, what I would like to see is a school program that is functioning where everyone can be happy. Mm-hmm. Because they look back and they say that is the correct budget. Because right now, obviously, education is the biggest problem in Kansas.
It really is. We got a lot of problems with that. Yeah. I have to ask, guys, a message from social media wanted me to ask you this question, but when it comes to some of the social issues, for instance, the legalization of marijuana or the banning of, what's your platform, what's your take on some of the social issues that we've seen starting to pop up in the state?
Personally, I believe that right now medical marijuana is as far as our state should go.
Okay. Well, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of support for that all across the board, regardless of political affiliation, for sure. We're talking with Dominic Scavuzzo, candidate for the Republican gubernatorial race 2018. If people want to get a hold of you, if they want to reach out, if they want to contribute, donate, if they want to help with your campaign, how can they get in touch with you?
I'm currently putting together my website, but my Twitter page is @Scavuzzo4Gov.
Very good, Dominic. Well, good luck to you, my friend. I know it's going to be kind of an uphill battle being a little bit younger on the scale when it comes to the race, but we have some really great candidates. It's going to be really good. And regardless of whether you win or lose, just being engaged, being active like that, and the peers around you seeing that is really, really inspiring. So I appreciate what you do, my friend. Good luck to you, and we'd love to chat with you again soon.
All right, thank you.
Always a pleasure,
my friend. To
Hey, very good. Appreciate you very much. Dominic Scavuzzo there, candidate for the Republican GOP gubernatorial race. Really excited for him joining. Appreciate that very much. So 21 minutes past the hour. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll open up lines to you. A few more things to touch on. Kicking off 2018. This is The Voice of Reason on KQAM.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM. Can you believe that the first show of 2018 is just about done? 27 minutes past the hour. It's an honor to have you along. Good morning to you, whether you're starting off your day, ending your day, it does not matter. We love having you here as we are I don't want to coin the term because it's already kind of being used, but we are the resistance. We are the conservative resistance here in the state. I don't care what the media tells us. They don't have the momentum. We do. They don't have the movement. We do. They don't have the excitement the way that we do. We just got to show it, baby. And this year, that's what we're going to do. 721-8255-721-TALK. Thanks again to Dominic Scavuzzo joining the show, Republican candidate for the gubernatorial race 2018. There are more candidates in this race than there have been in a long, long time, especially the Democrats. They have not had a primary challenge in, what did it say, 2 or 3 decades? 2 decades, I believe. They have not had a challenge. Now they have, 5 or 6 candidates in the race. We have close to 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever it is now, 3 independents. This is going to be a bloodbath. Now, it shows that there are that many people that think that we can do better, that want to either get on board with the Trump movement, want to get away from the Trump movement, that want to piggyback with the national movement, that want to stop the national movement, that think that they can do a lot better job, which good for them. I'm glad that we're seeing activism. When you have that many candidates, that means that local communities, that local areas are getting engaged because they want to make a difference. So I'm not going to discourage anybody from running for the seat, especially for the governor's seat. It's going to be interesting for us, the spectators, the voters, the engaged individuals who just are waiting to see what's going to happen on the campaign front. Let me give a word to the wise for all of the gubernatorial candidates. No personal attacks. No personal attacks, please. Now, the Democrats, we already know that's what's going to happen. It's already expected. We're not going to be able to change their mind. No personal attacks, please, from the Republicans on another Republican. Let's attack the idea, but let's not attack the person. I've already seen a few of those, and I wasn't very happy about the fact that we have seen such personal attacks on other Republican candidates. Let's not do that. We are a party that likes to beat each other up in the primaries, which I think is a very, very good thing. I enjoy the very tough primary session because we get to really get some good ideas out there. But if it becomes personal, we're not doing ourselves any good. We're not doing ourselves a positive. We're not doing ourselves one up here. We're harming ourselves, and I don't want to see that happen. Let's attack each other's ideology, not each other's personality. What do you say? Let's do it! Probably our news coming up here. We got some calls lining up. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. Don't go anywhere. It's a Tuesday. It's 2018. Happy New Year to you. This is The Voice of Reason on KQAM.
For Reason.
We just increased education funding last year, $400 million over the next 2 years. That's not enough. They wanted $1 billion. So what do? They compensate by now coming out with a new lawsuit or continuing the lawsuit, asking for an additional $600 million.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into the program. Good morning to you as you start off a Tuesday morning, 2018, baby. Can you imagine that we'd make it this far without crazy shenanigans? Oh, wait a second. It's already happening. 721-8255-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, you're more than welcome to do so. We'd love having you aboard as we kick off a brand new week, a brand new month, and a brand new year of 2018. Wrapping up the show today. Shoot me a message all over social media on the Facebook Live feed or give me a call in. Your political New Year's resolution. The question still asks, and I want to know from you, what is your political New Year's resolution? Do you want to stay engaged more? Are you trying to expand? It's almost like the muscle memory to where after a while in sports, it's just routine. You just do it without even thinking about it. You know how to swing the bat properly to hit the baseball. You know how to hold the football to where it doesn't get knocked out of your hands. You know it because you've done it over and over and over again. It's that muscle memory. Is that what you're up for politically this year? If you stay engaged, if you go to the meetings routinely, if you listen to talk radio routinely, like the Voice of Reason, if you try and read consistently, try and understand consistently, try and stay up with the current events. I know it's hard, and just like anything else, you get fatigued, you get worn out on it, because politics can be a very frustrating thing, and you can burn you out just like that. Most people, what do? They turn off the switch, they go about their day, they go about their business, and they don't even think about it. Is that going to be your New Year's resolution politically this year? to try and expand that muscle a little bit more, to try and practice a little bit more, to stay engaged a little bit longer each and every year. Because when you do, then guess what? It becomes more natural. It becomes a little bit easier. And then we have a heck of a lot louder voice than what they do on the activist side over there. They say they're activists. They're not activists. They're disruptors. When you go and protest and hold up a sign, do you really honestly truly think you're doing something special? You have the right to do it. But are you changing anything, or are you just throwing a temper tantrum like a child? Because that's what it comes across. When you protest and you hold up a sign, is that real engagement in activism, or are you just upset? Are you signing a petition? If you are, then at least you're doing something substantial. Are you running for office? Are you trying to repeal somebody in office? Are you trying to stop legislation or push legislation? What are you doing? Let's make it happen. Let's get away from the smoke and mirrors. Let's get away from the facade of the scare tactics in politics. One thing on the political New Year's resolution that we're going to have on this show this year is we're going to cut through the BS in politics. I don't like it. To me, it's like drama, and I'm not a fan of drama. I don't like family drama. I don't like work drama. I don't like any kind of drama. I don't like gossip. I don't like drama. I don't do it. I don't care. I'm here. I go to work. I have my vision. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to get done. I know what I need to do for myself personally in order to expand and grow. I know what I need to do for the company to succeed and expand and grow. That's what I'm here to do. I don't like gossip and drama. I just don't like it. Why do you think I live at least 9 to 12 hours away from any family member? I just don't like drama. It drives me nuts. Politics, there gets to be a lot of drama in there. They love drama. Anytime someone says anything, look at the media. Anytime Donald Trump sends a tweet, it's all over the media, and they talk about it for the next 12-hour news cycle. Anytime that Donald Trump makes a comment, everybody's talking about it, even if it's like, oh, I drink my water with both hands on the glass. Oh, it must mean because he's feminine, he's very weak, he's not very dominant. We're trying to analyze how he's drinking water. Give me a break. Maybe he was tired and he didn't want to drop it. Maybe he was focused on something else and he was happy. Who cares? He's drinking water, for crying out loud. It's not what we're doing. And then we have the wannabe Paul Revere, the redcoats are coming scare tactics. The Republicans do this sometimes too, and sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. When we have Bernie Sanders moving along with socialism, and he's saying how socialism's great, and the free health care is great, and the minimum wage thing is great, and this is great, and that is great, we need all this government oversight, then yeah, it is justified when we say communism's on the way to the United States. Socialism and fascism is on the way to the United States. By the way, another argument I had over the weekend, the fascist Republicans. Try and explain to me how Republicans are fascists. Just try it. Try it. Even try, because when you say that, it shows how completely ignorant you are, how completely naive we are. Let's not do that, okay? But if there's legitimate justified reasoning for the fascists are coming, hence the Republicans from what the Democrats cry, then it's completely unheard of, or it's completely uncalled for. If the Republicans are saying socialism's coming because we have a openly socialist individual that wants free goodies and talks about how great socialist nations are, then it is justified to say socialism's coming, we should be scared. And yes, you should be scared with socialism. Yes, you should teach your children that socialism is a bad, scary, horrible thing. And if someone says they like socialism, they should run and turn the other way. I told my daughter, I'm teaching her right. 3 years old, I told her if she ever brings home a boy that says he loves progressives or socialists, then he will be run out of the door. He will not be welcome in my home. Sorry, not going to happen. But I saw an email over the weekend, which I thought was perfectly appropriate to kick off 2018. And as you know, I subscribe to the James Thompson email blast, the candidate that's going to be challenging Ron Estes for the 4th congressional seat again. And he is a big-time progressive. He is a big-time Bernie Sanders. He was actually a registered Republican for 10 years, but apparently that doesn't matter. He switched his vote during the primaries. He wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders came to what was it, Topeka or Hutchinson or Kansas City or wherever it was last year, and James Thompson got to introduce him. James Thompson wanting to be the new energized progressive movement in the state and in this area, which is not going to work, and he lost badly, and he's going to lose again, but he's going to try. And the email that I got, here's the headline that I saw. The Kochs are coming. The nice little spinoff of the Redcoats are coming. The Redcoats are coming. Now the Kochs are coming. Here's what the email had to say. The Koch brothers' political arm, Americans for Prosperity. We have them on the show all the time. Now, what do they stand for? They stand for limited government, lower taxes, accountable spending, and less regulation in the free market. That, to me, means that they are a relatively good organization, don't you think? That's what Americans for Prosperity. Just the title, Americans for Prosperity. The private sector prospering. Not a bad thing, is it? But yet, the scare tactic. The Redcoats are coming! With the Koch brothers and the Koch's political arm, Americans for Prosperity are hiring new staff all across Kansas right now in order to protect their bought and paid for GOP legislators. So they can keep pushing their radical anti-worker agenda. The anti-worker agenda. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. I'm assuming politically because of the unions. But anti-worker meaning putting people back to work to be able to create wages, to be able to create wealth and create revenue for the state, and to be able to prosper and take care of their family. That's anti-worker, apparently. The anti-worker political arm strong-arming everybody in the state because now they're hiring new staff in the state, and that's a terrible, horrible, terrible thing. We can't be having something like that. How dare you? And the director of the AFP in Kansas is none other than the wife of my opponent, Ron Estes. Susan Estes being the director of the Americans for Prosperity. Now, I say congratulations to her because that's fantastic, being involved and engaged just as much as Congressman Estes is. But the bought and paid for GOP legislature. This is the kind of garbage that we need to get rid of and weed through in 2018. Our political New Year's resolution is to weed through this kind of stupid scarecrow tactic. I mentioned it, and I use the example of the scarecrow. The political sides create the scarecrow, attack the scarecrow, and don't actually attack anything substantial. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what it means. Instead of saying, there's legislation, here's the details of the legislation, and let's stop it because it's bad because of X, Y, and Z, instead they say, look, the political arm and the bought and paid for, and oh, look at all this, the anti-workers and the anti-this and that and the other, and oh, look at the terrible scare tactics. You should be scared because they're coming for your rights. This entire paragraph, there's no substance to it. Nada, nothing, zilch, zero, no substance. All it is an attack ad. Donate to me because it's an attack ad. Americans for Prosperity are a fascist regime, according to him, how they want to get rid of your rights as a worker. They want to lower your wages. They want to screw the middle class and the farmer and everybody else, and they're going to do that. And by the way, my opponent's wife is the one that heads this up, and she's just as guilty. Therefore, Congressman Estes is guilty, and all the Republicans are guilty because they believe in such an idea. This is the scare tactics we need to weed through in 2018. This is what we need to get rid of in 2018. I'm not going to stand for and listen to this kind of garbage. James Thompson, I hope you're higher than that. I hope you're better than that, but the last election kind of proves otherwise. I really want to talk to him on the show. Can we please get him on the program? I really want to talk to him and talk some deeper discussion here because this does us no good. This creates partisanship, which you say that you want to work with both sides, and everybody says they want to be bipartisan and work together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and work together to move to make country a better place and yada, yada, yada. This is garbage. Donate to me because my opponent is an evil, terrible person and they're trying to take away your rights. No, they're not. And who's supporting you, James Thompson? What organization has endorsed you or organizations have endorsed you? What side has given you lots of money? Other than the Democrats, the state party won't give you money, apparently, in the last election, but I digress. What organizations actually endorsed you? Oh, yeah, Democracy for America. Do you even know what type of society that we have in the United States? It's not a democracy. I'll give you the first hint. Democracy for America, not even a democratic. We're actually a constitutional republic, or we were originally. What our intent is, what we're supposed to be. We're not a democracy. And when politicians use the word democracy, it shows that they either don't care or they don't know. but endorsed by the progressive activist group of Democracy for America. Oh, how about our revolution? The progressive revolution, the progressive political revolution is their slogan. They're trying to change everything to the extreme socialist progressive movement to stop the fascist Republicans, which just in that sentence is the most ridiculous oxymoron that I've ever heard in my life. The socialists trying to stop the fascists. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. But our revolution has endorsed you. So the Americans for Prosperity that have supported conservatives because it's a conservative, or call it what it is. Instead of the smoke and mirrors and the scarecrow and trying to demonize and make it a scare tactic, call it what it is. You know, as a candidate, that you're going to have certain voters. And this is what I want every candidate to do in every election, which is why we're so frustrated. I don't want to hear, they're coming to take your rights away. I want to hear, look, Americans for Prosperity, they're an extreme conservative group. They're a conservative organization. And that right there would turn off every voter that you have to them. They would support you more, not by creating the scare tactic of it's the political arm of the Koch brothers, and they're bought and paid for the Republicans. But cut and dry, call it what it is. It's a conservative organization. I don't like them because they're conservative. I don't like them because they're a terrible organization, because they're conservative and they want you to have more money in your pocket, or whatever it is. But don't do the scare tactic. This creates the division, this creates the partisanship, and this creates the tear that we already have that's getting worse every single day, every single year, and I don't want to see that. This is going to be the year where we can actually unite under something. This is the year where we could potentially have real bipartisanship. And by bipartisanship, I mean Democrats working with Republicans, not strong-arming Republicans to compromise everything they believe in to promote a socialist agenda. That's not what we're going to do this year. Our agenda this year is true bipartisanship, to where Republicans are going to promote a conservative agenda that's constitutional, and if Democrats want to get on board, then welcome aboard. Is that real bipartisanship? Well, not necessarily, but you know what? You put us in that position. You, progressives, Democrats, that's what you put us in, and we have to respond to that. You've strong-armed us for year after year after year after year, federally and even statewide here. We're not going to stand for it anymore. Republicans are in control. Republicans will continue to be in control. And until you understand that, you're going to lose. Now, the Republican Party is what we have to look out for, because half the Republican Party in this state has done non-Republican things. And that's why you and I, it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to get engaged. It's time for us to get informed and not listen to the mainstream media, and to really focus on the real issues and to pay attention to what's really happening, so we know how to make the proper judgment and vote come the election. This is going to be really one of the biggest years in politics for the state, other than the presidential election that's always big. And last year was really bigger than what it's really, or I guess 2016, but it's been bigger than what it has been in a long time. This election, with the midterm elections and the gubernatorial race, is going to be the biggest that it's been in decades, and we cannot turn our backs to it. This is the Voice of Reason on KQAM. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Wrapping up the show today. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. It's an honor to have everybody here. Appreciate you checking us out and tuning in on a Tuesday, kicking off the brand new year. Ready to go for the next year. Monday starts the brand new legislative session. We have some tricks up our sleeves to try and help them and introduce them into the session on what we expect as taxpayers, as Kansans, as citizens, as voters. And as we had numerous different listeners point out today on the show, that we are the elephants, we are the Republicans, and we have a long memory, and we won't forget what they did to us. If you remember, starting yesterday, your taxes went up again here in the state. Your federal tax rate may have gone down, but your state went up. So hopefully you still came out in the green, or at least still somewhat the same. But we need to be cautious. We need to be wary of it. they're going to raise the taxes. They already did raise the taxes. Potentially, they could be raising more, and it's time for us to be aware of that, know about it, and then be able to fix that. So we have some, let's just say, some welcome back news and information and gifts to give to the legislators next year next week at some point. Whether it happens on Monday, I doubt, but sometime, hopefully next week, we'll have some more information on this to you, and that way we can properly welcome them back into the new session on what's going to happen. I'm really excited about it. We also have some more candidates that we need to talk to coming up. Now that this is the year, we have some more gubernatorial candidates that we have not talked to as of yet. We have some candidates that we need to touch base with again when it comes to maybe the Secretary of State's election, and then getting ready for the midterms with the House of Representatives later this year. So it's going to be a heck of a year with a lot of information. It's another political cycle. I know people may be saying, like, we just had one. Yeah, but this one actually matters even more so than what it did last time. Everybody, Happy New Year to you. I'm glad you stuck with us here. Appreciate it very much. Lots to get to, lots to do. Hopefully you personally are going to be in a better position. You're growing, you're succeeding, you're doing well. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. You see the goal that you set for yourself, whether it's personal, career, family, whatever it is. Do it, make it happen. We'll be here along the way to help you with that, especially on the politics side. This is The Voice of Reason. Have a great day, everybody.